From the BBC World Service, in association with ABC and Akashvani, this is Stumped.
Hello, I'm Alison Mitchell in London and welcome to Stumped. With me is Jim Maxwell for the ABC, who's in Sydney, and Charu Sharma for Akashvani joins us from Bangalore. This week we're going to talk about the IPL because after 18 years and over 260 matches, Virat Kohli finally got his hands on the trophy that had eluded him throughout his stellar white ball career. He won the Indian Premier League with Royal Challengers Bengaluru, having first been drafted by them back in 2008 at the very start, and he's been loyal, the only player to have played for just one team in all 18 IPL seasons. And the title caps are quite remarkable, 12 months for him, in which he also won the T20 World Cup last year in 2024 and the 2025 Champions Trophy with India. And there was plenty of emotion from Kohli and RCB as they won their first IPL title by just 6 runs, having set Punjab Kings a target of 191 in Ahmedabad. But the celebrations have been overshadowed after 11 people died and dozens were left injured after a crush when fans flocked to the Chinnaswamy stadium at an event to welcome the team back home to Bangalore. And Charu, you're there in the city. I mean, we need to start really with events around the team's homecoming because that's just a tragic end to what should have been a day of huge celebration.
Yeah, it's all very unfortunate, Alison. And of course, it's all retrospective now. Everybody's thinking about what should have been done and perhaps a bigger delay and a better organization. But there's a lot of confusion, there's consternation, there's regret. All the agencies concerned are now saying, yes, well, we should have held on a bit and not done what we did. The stadium has a capacity of about 33,000. And there were as many as 400,000 people outside. And, we can go on and on about the administrative lack, because the politicians of the state also were quite happy to be a party to the celebration. So they were there at the stadium, and another celebration was planned at the Legislative Assembly, where also there were hundreds and thousands of people. This is all central Bangalore. And I feel particularly bad for the fans who came to celebrate, and especially the youngsters. There's a lot of young people there, because they're the ones that really make up sporting fans. And that crush was, I wasn't there personally, but it was unbelievable. And it just, one does feel sorry for RCB because just the heavy level of celebrations that have lasted loud and at least into the weekend, if not longer, are now completely absent, because obviously it's very embarrassing to be talking about a triumph when there's been such a major tragedy right here in the city. All very unfortunate. The blame game, by the way, is rife. Everybody is looking to see who can be blamed most, but what can we say? Our hearts go out to the families that are bereaved and of course those who are injured as well.
Yeah, absolutely echo that. RCB put out a statement quite soon after this had unfolded, saying that we are deeply anguished by the unfortunate incidents that have come to light through media reports regarding public gatherings all over Bengaluru in anticipation of the team's arrival this afternoon. The safety and well-being of everyone is of utmost importance to us. It goes on saying RCB mourns the tragic loss of lives and extend our heartfelt condolences to the affected families. Immediately upon being made aware of the situation, we promptly amended our programme and followed the guidance and advice of the local administration. We urge all our supporters to please stay safe. And Charu, I don't know whether you saw Kohli reposting that RCB statement saying, at a loss of words, absolutely gutted, he said. And I'm sure that is how all the players would have felt.
It was just a failure of administration, of wanting to celebrate too soon without planning a celebration. Can such celebrations ever be planned really well? Even ticker tape parades, you never know, with buses and the crush and the crowd. But I think it all stems from trying to do this too soon. They would have finished late night in Ahmedabad, the 3rd of June, and this is fairly early on the 4th of June in Bangalore. So, yeah, there was an unholy hurry, and everything could have been organized in a much better manner a day or two later. And I don't think that would have taken away from the triumph at all, were it delayed by a day or two. So, well, we can all talk about it now. But yeah, I can only imagine Kohli, who would have been on top of the world after picking up this final sort of, or getting rid of this final gorilla off his back. And now I don't think he can talk about it much because of the tragedy. So
yeah, Jim, I mean, the tournament was first disrupted by conflict and big name overseas players headed home. And now this is a very somber way to it have ended after such a emotional climax on the night of the final.
Yes, very sad indeed that this could occur, but unfortunately, it does happen every now and then with the large team followings, and cricket's not, well, certainly not the only sport to suffer with some of these things, as we've seen quite often in the world of football. But yeah, very sad indeed that this should have occurred when it should have been a rollicking, triumphal celebration without any of this occurring. But unfortunately, these things can get out of hand, as we have just seen.
Well, it certainly was a rollicking night of celebration on the night when RCB won. So let's just reflect a little bit more on that achievement and the cricket itself. In fact, before the season started, we had Andy Flower on Stumped to talk about the season and what might lie ahead for RCB. And he's now the victorious IPL winning coach. So let's just hear and look back on what he told us then about his expectations for RCB.
Well, I tell you, one thing we have done is we've got a brand new squad. So we retained three players from last year, and it was the big auction, obviously, and it gives everyone a chance to renew their squads, and we've done that. And probably like every team, we look at our squad and think we can do something with this. And we've got some really good balance in our squad. We've got great power in the batting lineup, and real skill and experience in the bowling lineup, which is a little bit of a change for RCB. Usually they prioritize their batting lineup with some big batting stars, and we've shifted that to what we think is a more balanced team this year.
what's the pressure, if not desperation, like Alison mentioned, season 18, no title? How does that hang with you?
RCB is one of the bigger franchises in world sport, let alone just cricket or just IPL cricket. And so RCB and its fans should expect success, absolutely. I would view the fact that RCB hasn't won it, not necessarily as a desperate situation or indeed added pressure. It's a great opportunity. It's never been done before. And quite frankly, one of the main reasons Mo and I took on this challenge.
Well, Andy Flower there on the new squad, the captain that he picked. Charu, I mean, you were heavily involved in RCB, weren't you? At the very start, the early days of the competition, I'm sure you share the pride in the team's win.
Well, yes, it was a very slow start, that's for sure, because the opening season we were pilloried for having a team that wasn't likely to do much winning at all, and they didn't that first year, which is what. Sorry, there's a little bug around me. And of course, the second season, almost the same team came in runner-up. So it was essentially a good team, but it took a long time for the fans to start believing Alison. And I remember the first season, there was huge concern of somehow being able to sell enough tickets to have the stadium at least half full or three-quarters full, so it didn't look too bad. And every match lost was just led to an enormous concern. Oh my goodness, commercially we won't be able to fill up the stadium. But tickets are almost impossible to get, and they have built this, I think, through a method. They have built this enormous fan army, and I think the belief levels in RCB, regardless of the fact that they haven't won, of course, there are all those three finals, has been high all along. Now, you can have a lot of fans start disbelieving in RCB, but from everything that I have gathered and read and seen, the fans were behind the team all the time. And I dare suggest, especially in the last 10 years or so, it has been singularly because of Kohli. He is this biggest sort of Indian cricket icon. And for him to stay with RCB and show that connection all the way through, the fans, I think, have responded to that and have also, therefore, not abandoned the team because of their lack of victories in the past few years. But there's no doubt that RCB owe everything to Kohli. And it was great to see ABD and Gale also join in the celebrations because they too were very big parts of the team. Gale looking particularly, should we say, a North Indian.
Well, he was hedging his bets, wasn't he? Because he was also a Punjab Kings player earlier in the competition.
True. That's why he's wearing the plug. But yeah, so there's no doubt that the team's fortunes in terms of the fanhood were related to Kohli.
What next for him then? What do you think his next move will be? Because, he's sort of won everything now. Has he almost completed cricket?
Hasn't won the Test Championship. I'm sure that
True.
rankles. And he can't
Well,
now.
he's retired now.
So he's retired from Test cricket. He's retired from T20 internationals. He has, of course, left his hat in the ring for one-day internationals, which I might say so suit his game to the T, ODI, just sort of, picking runs here, there, and the other. And will he be able to continue that till 2027 when there's the next ODI World Cup? I wonder. But that's his only goal, I suppose, left, which is not even something that he desperately needs because he's won a World Cup earlier on. So the only thing left for him, really, a bit like Dhoni, is probably just keep his connection to RCB going for at least another 2 or 3 years. RCB for sure are not going to let him go easily.
Now, Virat Kohli at the end, Jim, the joys of winning the IPL, and there was a lot of emotion for him for that, but he was asked still about where it ranks in terms of his love of the game and in comparison to Test cricket. And he said quite clearly it still marks 5 levels under Test cricket. He says, that's how much I value Test cricket. He says, that's how much I love Test cricket. He said he wanted to urge youngsters coming through to treat the Test format with respect. How encouraged are you, Jim, to hear, one of the greats in the moment of all the excitement of that IPL win to still speak so, effusively about the Test match game?
Well, it's very important, gratifying, whichever word you want to use, to hear someone of the stature of Virat Kohli speak so respectfully about Test cricket. I mean, there are a lot of us, maybe a bit older than some of the fans that go to T20 games, who look upon Test cricket as the most substantial form of the game, and that cricket will never be the same without it. So we're not looking at that at the moment, but it's important for people with the leadership and authority in the game like Virat Kohli to say what he said about Test cricket.
Well, somebody who wasn't hastening slowly, Charu, was possibly Phil Salt. I gathered that he became a father for the first time just 48 hours before the final. I mean, there's that great image of Virat Kohli leaping into his arms at the end of the final. But did he have a bit of a mad dash to get there?
Well, quite crazy. I mean, I wonder what the family Salt thinks about what Phil did because, for all practical purposes, he was gone. First child, you don't come back, you don't leave home. But he did, obviously there was enormous pressure put on him by Kohli and the rest of the team saying, we need you. We don't get off to a good start, we're in trouble. So he obviously responded. And I suppose the story will stay for a very long time. The birth of your first son or a child, and you go all the way to fly. I mean, it's not an easy flight, 8 hours and odd, and then you get back in. And of course, he didn't get too many runs in the final, but he was there and he gave the team some stability and solidity. And I must also, if you don't mind, Alison, make a quick mention of Hazlewood, because he was injured. He had all sorts of minor niggles and injuries. He went back because of the suspension. And we thought that the last person to come back to the IPL, because of the fact that Australia put so much in store by Test match cricket and the fact that he was injured, was Hazlewood to come back and play for his team. And from here, then go on to the Test, the final, the Test Championship. So that to me was the biggest surprise of all, because while Salt was very useful at the top of the order, but Hazlewood was the biggest weapon that RCB had. And I wonder what the pressures there were. And Australia allowing him to come back to the IPL rather than going to England, quite remarkable for me.
It's going to be a very quick turnaround for Josh Hazlewood, isn't it? Getting off the plane, Jim, and then preparing, for 1 week for a World Test Championship final.
There's a emotional and physical adjustment for a number of the players. And I just wonder how well prepared a number of them will be for a one-off game like this. And you may say the same for South Africa. So this just adds a little bit more spice to it all, given that I reckon most people believe Australia is probably the better equipped and experienced side, but that may count for nothing if South Africa turn up with a big bowling performance, as we've seen they can put on. And maybe one or two of the Australian players are a little short of their best, either through fatigue in Hazlewood's case, lack of form in Labuschagne's if he plays. There are a lot of question marks about this Australian side. So it's a quite tantalising prospect to think about which way this game may fire. The more so if there's some cloud cover around and a little bit of juice in the track at Lords. That could be a real leveller in this contest.
That's all we've got time for on this week's Stumped. So thanks to Jim Maxwell and Charu Sharma, and of course to all of you, and we'll see you again next week. Until then, bye for now.